everybody, today is day 1 of the bone broth diet. So the very first thing that I'm going to be doing is making bone broth. So I wanted to show you the ingredients that go into the bone broth, and then I'll show you the bone broth when it's done. Okay, so the ingredients that go into the bone broth from the bone broth diet by Dr. Kellyanne. All right, so first thing that you need is 3 to 4 pounds of chicken carcasses. These are chicken backs here, and then you need 6 or more chicken feet, which are in this package here, and you need a whole chicken, and then you also need 4 carrots, 4 ribs of celery, an onion, a tomato, a bunch of parsley, a few cloves, some peppercorns, and some apple cider vinegar. And then of course, purified water to cover your bone broth ingredients. I will be using well water because we have a well and we had our water tested and it is really good to drink. So, all right. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna be doing is putting all the meat and the vinegar and water into the large pot. And we're gonna get that going. Okay, so I got the chicken and the vinegar and the water in the pot, and I'll show you guys that in a second. But I have a little tip about the chicken feet. I bought a 3-pound package of chicken feet. It ended up being 30 chicken feet. I only needed 6 to 8 for each batch of bone broth. So what I did is I just defrosted it enough that I could pull them apart, so they were still frozen, but I could break them apart, and I bagged them all up, 6 feet in each bag, and I ended up having 4 that I could put 4 bags in the freezer and then 6 for the pot. So definitely separate those chicken feet out when you get them from the store before you put them in the freezer to save yourself a little bit of the hassle that I just had to go through. All right, I'll show you guys the pot now. Okay, so here we go. Here's my pot. And okay, well, now I think we're ready to add our veggies. So, I bagged up the veggies so that they would stay fresh. There's some tomato. We have our parsley. We add all the veggies first, and then we add the parsley at the end. So we'll do that now. I hope I can get all these veggies and everything in there. All right, here we go. Barely in there. Tomato. I think I will take a little bit of that broth out and I'll reserve it for when the water gets a little bit low. And you'll withstand this heat. All right, we'll just get a bunch of broth in there. We will add this back in when the liquid gets low because I think I added maybe too much ingredients or too much water. I don't know. We'll find out. It's a new journey. It's a new experiment. Okay, so we're gonna put the lid on. We're gonna bring that back up to a simmer, and then we will turn it down to low. Okay, let's make sure I've got everything in here now. Add the carrot, celery, onion, tomato, cloves, and peppercorns, and reduce the heat to low. Okay, so gotta add our cloves, which I have here. We have 2 cloves. Add those in. And then the peppercorns. Now, my husband bought a peppercorn grinder instead of loose peppercorns, so I think what I'm gonna actually use is just some coarsely ground black pepper, which I already have up here somewhere. Let's see, and I'm supposed to have 2 teaspoons. So I think we'll just do, we're just gonna eyeball this because, you know, peppercorns is much bigger. I'm just gonna do a few pinches there. We'll start with that. We can always add more pepper later. Season it to taste, as they say, right? Okay. Okay. So now, yeah. Now we're going to let that come up and turn it down to low so that we have a simmer. We want to have barely a simmer. We do not have even a simmer at all yet. After we put in all those cold vegetables, it brought the heat down, I guess. Okay, then it says to skim occasionally during the first 2 hours. Cook for at least 4 to 6 hours. All right, so it's 12 o'clock now. So we will skim it over this next 2 hours, and we'll be cooking it till dinner time, or this late afternoon. Okay. All right, I set the timer for 4 hours, so we're going to just be skimming it and watching it till then. We're coming up to a simmer yet. I'm gonna turn it up, get it up to simmer, and then we'll be putting it down. All right, and then, oh, okay, when do I add the parsley? Okay, so we're going to be skimming it for the first 2 hours, cooking it for 4 to 6 hours, and we're going to be adding water as needed. And then we're going to be adding the parsley in the last hour. So we're just going to set our parsley aside. Okay, we'll put that in later. Here. All right, we got up to a little simmer. We're going to turn this down, and it overflowed a little. So we're going to skim off this stuff off the top that apparently we don't need. Hey, maybe that's why you use peppercorns, because when you're skimming, you can avoid the peppercorns. Because when I'm skimming all this stuff, it's just like all the pepper is just right there in the foam. Well, good to know. Be careful not to skim off my cloves. Okay. All right. Okay. There's cloves in there. It's starting to smell good. It had a real, it has a real vinegary smell right now, but it's like the onions and the celery and the carrots are starting to cook. So you're starting to smell that chicken soup kind of a smell. Less vinegar. It's starting to smell good. So, all right, we're gonna let that simmer. Let's see if I can, I'm gonna turn it down to low. Cover it. I'm gonna cover it halfway there. It's pretty full. And if I put the lid on now, it'll just bubble out like you saw. Okay, we'll see you guys in a little bit. Okay, so it's been a little bit of time. We're gonna check for some stuff to skim off. It's just been barely simmering. Just like it would if it was in a crock pot, I guess. Kind of, things are floating to the top here. I'm gonna submerge things a little bit in there. Okay, put this back on. Check it again in a few. Okay, so it's been 7 hours. It's time to add our parsley. So here we go. Smells really good. Just gonna undo this here. Yeah. So we're just gonna add it in and push it down like this. There's no need to chop it up because we're going to be straining all of the solids out of this bone broth. And that's going to be simmering for the last hour. Okay, so the bone broth is all done cooking. It cooked for about 8 hours on the stove with a light simmer. And now we are going to strain out all the solids and get the broth by itself. And then we're going to put it in our storage containers. And I'm going to need to ladle it into some jars that we've cleaned in order to make some room for the rest of the bone broth. Okay, now we'll keep going. Getting the rest of the broth out. We're going to be drinking this bone broth on our fasting day coming up here just the day after tomorrow. And so we need to make at least a gallon for my husband and I to share on that day. We were successful. We made 8 of these jars. Okay, there's a couple of jars that were a little bit overfilled. I'm going to empty a little bit out. It's very hot. Actually, I think I'll just, so I get a good mixture because these have already started to settle a little. I want to make sure that these are more even. So. Good. Now they're all pretty much even. Okay. So, I'm gonna let these cool. So we got 8 jars of bone broth. I'm gonna let these cool and then we will be able to put the lids on and put them into the fridge. 2 of these are going to be for today and tomorrow for our non-fasting days for snacks. And then these other 6 are going to be for our fasting day. My husband and I will each get 3 that we can drink throughout the day. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you found it interesting and informative, and I would love to hear about your bone broth recipes or how you make it or what you do that's different. Do you use a crock pot? All those kinds of good things. So leave those in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button if you want to hear about more videos coming up, and I'll see you next time.